After 30 years, he left his loyal wife for a younger woman. But the town kept whispering. The September sun streamed through the windows of our cozy kitchen. It danced on the jars of peach jam I just sealed. My hands smelled of cinnamon and sugar. Scents woven into my skin after 30 years in this small town. I wiped my palms on my apron, embroidered with little sunflowers. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a pile of ungraded essays. Tomorrow, my 10th graders have a paper due on The Great Gatsby. I should prep a list of common mistakes. Kids these days miss the symbolism in classics. A new coffee mug, a gift from my youngest daughter last Christmas, sat on the counter. The front door creaked open. James was home earlier than usual. On weekdays, he rarely walked in before 7 p.m. Something about his footsteps made me pause. After 3 decades together, you learn to read your husband's mood in the smallest signs. The way he kicks off his boots, hangs his jacket, lingers in the hall. When he stepped into the kitchen, I knew something was wrong. James stood in the doorway, shoulders slumped, eyes avoiding mine. "We need to talk, Sarah," he said, his voice low, like it came from far away. I slowly untied my apron, hanging it on the hook. That habit of keeping things tidy, honed from years of teaching, kept me steady. "I'm leaving, Sarah, for another woman." Strange, but my first thought was how casually he said it. Like he was just popping out for milk. 30 years of marriage summed up in one short sentence. "Who is she?" My voice sounded distant, robotic. Then James started talking, fast and eager, almost like a teenager. It felt so out of place in that moment. He met Emily at a wellness retreat I'd sent him to after his heart scare. She was young, attentive, took care of him. 26, he said. "God, she's only 5 years older than our Lily." "Enough." I raised my hand, stopping his flood of words. "No more details." He fell silent mid-sentence. In the quiet, the old wooden clock in the living room ticked loudly. The one my in-laws gave us at our wedding, to mark your happy years, they'd said. I wondered if they ever imagined those years would run out. While James packed his things, I stood by the window, staring at our backyard. The cherry trees we planted together were old now, but still bore fruit. My mind wandered to the 7th graders' book reports. The roses I needed to prune. The novel I never wrote despite my youthful dreams. The door clicked shut like a gunshot. Only then did I let myself collapse onto a chair. My hands reached for an old photo album. Here's me and James, so young, me in a simple lace dress, him in a borrowed suit. Our first apartment, a tiny place above the town bakery. A lumpy couch, books stacked everywhere, a fern on the windowsill. Here's our oldest, Emma, taking her first steps. Here's Lily, beaming on her first day of school. The clock in the living room ticked on, steady as ever, like it didn't care my world had just cracked open. I ran my fingers over a photo of us all by that clock. It was our family anchor, a constant through the years. Tears welled up, but I couldn't cry. I just watched the last rays of September light fade on the clock's face, marking a new kind of time. I sat at the kitchen table, staring out the darkening window. Dusk settled fast, as it does in September, but I didn't turn on the light. In the dimness, the past felt clearer than the present. 30 years ago, I came to Maplewood, a wide-eyed girl fresh from college. I remember walking down Main Street, the only paved road in town, lugging a suitcase half filled with books. A worn copy of Emily Dickinson, The Catcher in the Rye, a collection of Whitman's poems. I thought I'd stay a few years, teach as required, then move to the city. I'd write, publish in literary magazines, live a big life. "Sarah, don't get stuck in that sleepy town," my mom warned, dabbing her eyes. But I stayed, rooted so deep I can't imagine leaving now. That first year was rough. I didn't know how to work the wood stove, it smoked like a forest fire. Water came from a well, and the bathroom was out back. The silence at night was so thick it hummed in my ears. Poetry kept me sane. I scribbled in an old notebook with a green cover. While other young teachers went to dances at the community hall, I wrote. Then James came along. I remember the day clearly. I'd called his little brother, Tommy, to the board for forgetting a poem. In walked this tall guy in work boots, apologizing for Tommy. "Sorry, Miss Sarah, our dad's sick, and Tommy's helping at home." His voice was calm, solid, his eyes steady. He started walking me home after school. It was a long trek through town. Past the old mill. Along the creek. We talked about everything, his family's orchard. My love for books. One day, I recited Dickinson. Hope is the thing with feathers. He smiled and said, pretty, but life's simpler than that. Maplewood's a small place, maybe 150 homes. Soon, everyone knew James Carter was sweet on the new teacher. Whispers at the general store. Bet they're married by fall. They were right. We wed in August. A simple ceremony. Tables in the yard. Cherry blossoms late that year. The neighbor's fiddle played. Kids stole cookies. And everyone laughed. I remember my father-in-law carrying in that clock. Gentle as if it were a baby. These aren't just clocks, he said. They're memory. Time. My grandpa brought them from England. Never stopped. Not through storms or moves. My mom didn't come to the wedding. She was upset I was staying in that nowhere town. If your dad were alive, he'd say you're wasting your talent. She said. I thought, talent? Plenty of people write. But family, you only get one. Then Emma was born. Loud and strong. 2 years later, Lily, my quiet one. Writing poems got pushed aside. When was there time? Between diapers and sleepless nights? My notebook stayed buried in a drawer. Tucked between sweaters. Life became a blur of teaching. Parenting. Cooking. Sarah. Parent-teacher nights tomorrow. I need a report. Miss Carter, can you grade these quizzes? Honey, the apples need picking. Day after day. Year after year. The phone rang, snapping me out of my thoughts. Emma's name lit up the screen. My heart sank. She never calls this late. Mom, Dad's not answering. Is he okay? Her voice shook. I closed my eyes, bracing myself. How do you tell your daughter her dependable father left for a woman young enough to be her sister? Emma, sweetheart, my voice broke. He's left us. For someone else. Silence hung heavy on the line. Then Emma said, low and stunned, we're coming over. 3 hours later, 2 cars pulled up. Emma's old hatchback and Lily's sleek sedan. My girls walked in together. So different yet so alike. Emma, in a cozy sweater. Hair messy. Her toddler, Ben, asleep in her arms. Lily, in a sharp blazer. Heels swapped for sneakers. I can't believe it, Emma said, sinking onto the couch, clutching Ben. Dad always said family was everything. People change, Lily said, sitting on the armrest, her hand on my shoulder. Midlife crisis. Maybe. Midlife crisis at 60? Emma snapped, then softened, seeing Ben stir. I remembered last July, the heat unbearable, the thermometer hitting 100 in the shade. James was out in the orchard, tending our 10 apple trees. He came home pale, clutching his chest. I'm just tired, he said. Then the hospital. IVs. Me reading to him at night, Steinbeck. Frost, like I did for my students. He'd listen, eyes half closed, sometimes saying, read that part again, Sarah. When he got out, I sold my pearl necklace, Mom's gift for my 40th birthday. I bought him a stay at a wellness retreat. Rest up, James. They've got good care. Fresh air. He came back different. I shook off the memory. Catching a look from Rachel, my old friend and the school librarian. She'd stopped by and now sat with us, stirring cold tea. Remember when he got that new jacket? Rachel said, lowering her voice as Ben slept. And that fancy phone? Sarah, I wanted to tell you, when a man his age starts acting young, there's usually someone new. I'd seen the signs. How he hid his phone when I walked in. How he turned away to read texts. The cologne, he'd only ever used aftershave before. Why didn't you say anything? Lily asked, slipping back into the room. I was scared, I admitted, smoothing the tablecloth. I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe it'd pass. The worst part, Lily said, taking my hand, is you're talking about him. About us. What do you want, Mom? For you? I looked at my hands, teacher's hands. Stained with ink, calloused from gardening. My right hand trembled slightly. Nerves from long hours. For 30 years, I'd only asked, what can I do for them? For James, the girls, my students. For myself? I didn't know where to start. In a small town like Maplewood, gossip spreads like wildfire. By the next evening, everyone knew James Carter had left. I felt it in the glances. The hushed voices at the market. They'd stop talking when I got close. Then whisper again. Carter pulled a stunt at his age. Maggie, the cashier, tried to comfort me. Men, They're like bees, chasing the sweetest flower. I wanted to scream. 30 years. That's not a flower chase. At the post office, Mrs. Clara sighed, handing me my mail. "My fancied a waitress once. My Hank did. Before he passed. I took my letters and left. The gossip stinging like thorns. Yesterday, Principal Linda stopped by. She sat in my kitchen, cradling her coffee. Take some time off, Sarah. Rest. Heal." I shook my head. Who'll finish To Kill a Mockingbird with the 8th graders? Today, I taught the Scarlet Letter. Looking at my quiet students, I saw the story differently. All those years, I'd taught Hester's shame, but now I saw her strength. Miss Carter, Jenny, my star pupil, asked, "Did Hester love Dimsdale, or was she just trapped?" I met her thoughtful eyes. "Sometimes, Jenny, we mistake our longing for something more for love." After class, I started cleaning. Every trace of James hurt. A frayed sweater I'd mended. His reading glasses. A tackle box. I packed them in boxes, labeled in my neat teacher's handwriting, to storage. In the garage, I found the title to our old pickup. James never got around to selling it. I remembered him teaching me to drive it last spring. "Easy on the clutch, Sarah. Don't jerk it." I'd laughed. "Why bother? You're always here." Now I'd have to learn driving. Bills. Living alone. Evenings were the hardest. The house grew still. The silence heavy, like a thick quilt. Yesterday, Mr. Thompson, a widower, dropped off a jar of his famous blueberry jam. "Good for the heart, Miss Sarah," he said. He's kind. Visits his wife's grave every Sunday. But my heart's locked tight. I've had enough of snores and scattered socks. In a dusty shoebox, I found my old notebooks. Their covers faded. Poems from my 20s, scribbled late at night. I opened one. The house creaks in the dark. Clocks count steps not mine. I dream of a girl across the river, waving. That girl was me, the dreamer I'd left behind. Maybe she's still there, waiting to cross back. Saturday morning, a car honked outside. Emma and her family pulled up. Ben racing to hug my knees. "Grandma." I packed my schoolbag myself. I kissed his head, then heard Emma gasp, "Mom, you cut your hair. And that dress." I touched the hem of my new blue sundress. Bought on a whim at the town shop. First new clothes in years. Just like one I wore at 20. Rachel stepped out, sipping coffee. "Good for you, Sarah. Life's not over." Emma's husband, Mark, unloaded bags, muttering about his back. Emma shot him a look. "Help out, Mark. I'm not your maid." I recognized that tone. How often I'd said the same to James, thinking it was just my lot. By noon, clouds rolled in, smelling of rain. The men went to fix a neighbor's car. We women sat on the porch. Like old times. Lily opened her laptop. Her husband, Alex, beside her. He was tall, a bit awkward, but his eyes were kind. He coded for a tech firm and translated poetry for fun. "Show Mom the pics of our new place," he said, his voice soft with love. "There's a guest room. Mom, visit us. We'll hit the museums, school, the garden." "I can't," I said. Lily closed her laptop. "Mom, you've always done for others. Live for you. Just once." Emma burst into tears. "I'm sorry, Mom. I never saw it. You did everything. And we thought that's how it was." I stroked her hair, like when she was little. "My girls, teaching me now." Lily stirred her cold tea. "I started therapy classes. Learned you can't live just for others. It's like an oxygen mask, put yours on first." Emma wiped her eyes. "I told Mark yesterday. Split the chores or we're done." He said, "Your mom managed." I said, "You want me alone at 60. Like her?" "I'm not alone," I said, voice shaky. "I've got you. My students. The school." Lily took my hand. "You're strong, Mom. Let yourself be happy, for you." As they left, rain pattered down. Lily hugged me. "I sent you a video call app. We'll talk more." The air smelled of wet lavender and distant thunder. I remembered loving storms as a kid, their power, their promise of change. Maybe it's time to start living for me. But where to begin? Later, I heard from Mrs. Lee, whose son worked at Emily's clinic. James and Emily were living in a high-rise condo in the city. Like a second honeymoon, Mrs. Lee said, shaking her head. James, acting 20 years younger, bought a leather jacket, new glasses. They'd stroll the Riverwalk, Emily dragging him to chic cafes. He'd fumble with tiny espresso cups. used to his big mugs of tea. Her friends, young nurses, interns, whispered, "Her grandpa's stylish today." Trouble started when Emma called. James tried to explain, but Emily slammed cabinets, loud enough to hear. "Why didn't you say you were busy? We had plans. Daughter's calling," he'd said. How long will daughter rule your life? That new life wasn't what he'd dreamed. His pension barely covered rent and groceries. Emily talked of fur coats, trips, a new car. "You're the man. Provide." He'd think of me, making a feast from scraps, darning his socks with care. Emily didn't darn. She demanded, pouted. James grew tired of clubs, her selfie-obsessed friends, the need to keep up. He missed our quiet evenings, my chamomile tea with honey. The rain fell harder, thunder closer, as if the sky wanted to tell its own story. I stood on the porch, letting the dampness soak into my hair, feeling like it washed away the old years. The next day, I started small. I signed up for a writing class at the county community center. For the first time in 3 decades, I picked up a pen not to grade papers but to write for myself. Words spilled out, clumsy at first, but then they flowed like a spring stream. I wrote about the girl across the river, about buried dreams, about the strength to find myself again. Each week, I drove the old pickup to class, still fumbling with the clutch. But I was learning. I joined a book club at the library, where Rachel and I laughed loudly debating novels. I painted the living room a soft blue, like the sky after a storm. In the garden, I planted hydrangeas, their blooms making me smile every morning. Lily sent me a ticket to visit her in the city. And for the first time, I said yes. We strolled through galleries, ate ice cream in the park, and I felt like that 20-year-old girl again. Emma and Ben came over more often, and I taught him how to make oatmeal cookies, flour dusting his face. School was still a joy. My students, with their innocent questions and curious eyes, kept me alive. Masha, the girl who asked about Anna Karenina, now wrote poems and shyly showed them to me. "They're beautiful, Masha," I said, seeing myself in her, a new spark igniting. I started posting poems online, anonymously, but kind words from strangers warmed my heart. One poem got picked for a local magazine, my name in small print at the page's corner. But to me, it was everything. I didn't need anyone to tell me I was enough. I knew I was. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and I loved every little moment. One Saturday afternoon, nearly a year after James left, I was pruning hydrangeas when I heard a car stop at the gate. I looked up and saw James step out. Older, wearier, his leather jacket no longer suiting him. He stood at the gate, hands in pockets, eyes shifting like the day he walked away. "Sarah," he said, voice rough, "can we talk?" I wiped my hands on my apron, stood tall, feeling a strange calm. "Come in, James. I'll make tea." We sat at the kitchen table, where so many meals and stories had unfolded. He started talking, haltingly, like he feared I'd cut him off. Emily had left him a few months ago. She wanted more trips, a bigger apartment, a life he couldn't afford. They fought constantly, about money, about him not fitting in with her young friends. One night, Emily packed her bags, saying she needed someone who matched her pace. James was left in an empty apartment, bills piling up, heartbroken. "I was wrong, Sarah," he said, eyes red. "I thought I wanted a new life. But I miss you, the house, everything." I listened, not angry, not hurt, just with a strange stillness. For 30 years, I'd given him everything: love, sacrifice, carefully cooked dinners. But now, I wasn't the woman waiting for him to come back. "James," I said, voice steady, "you chose your path." He looked at me, stunned, like he couldn't believe I'd say no. "But we could start over, Sarah, like before." I smiled softly, not for him, but for myself. "Before, I lived for you, for the girls, for everyone but me. Now I live for myself." I told him about the writing class, the published poem, trips with Lily, Ben's laughter. I told him about quiet evenings reading by lamplight, no longer waiting for his footsteps. "I'm happy for you," he said, but his voice dripped with regret. I knew he didn't really understand, he just wanted the safe, familiar place back. But I wasn't his safe place anymore. I walked him to the door. Rain starting to fall, tiny drops sparkling on the hydrangeas. "Take care, James," I said, and I meant it. He got in his car. shoulders more stooped than before. And I closed the gate. I went back inside, brewed fresh tea, opened my notebook. I wrote a poem about the rain, about flowers blooming despite the storm, about a woman finding light in herself. That night, I video called Lily and Emma, told them about James, about the freedom of letting go of the past. "I'm so proud of you, Mom," Lily said, eyes shining. Emma smiled, hugging Ben. "You're our superhero." I went to bed with a smile. Window open to let the rain song lull me to sleep. The girl across the river wasn't far anymore. I'd built the bridge. And I was walking, each step happy.